patrons. Welcome to your weekly Creep Cult bonus episode. We're continuing with Alphabet Roulette and talking about The Running Man.
Yeah.
You're either Arnold Schwarzenegger or Tom Cruise.
Yeah. I joked on my letterbox that I've just been watching all movies about dudes who run recently. I watched The Flash, Marathon Man, The Running Man. Need to watch Forrest Gump.
Oh,
I was running.
that was okay. That was an impression.
Yeah,
Stick to singing, John.
it was one of
That's your
the
strength.
impressions of all time.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, so we're talking about The Running Man. That is starring Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Supposedly, allegedly, based on a Richard Bachman / Stephen King book.
Yeah, directed by Paul Michael Glazier and screenplay by Stephen E. D'Souza. And may or may not have ripped off another movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they ended up getting sued because while this movie
They said The
has
Shining.
almost nothing plot-wise outside of the very basic concept in common with King's book, which always blows me away that that's a thing that studios are able to do. They're like, oh, I'm going to buy the rights to this project, and then I'm going to make a completely different movie and just call it The Running Man.
Yeah.
But this movie did go through like 15 different scripts before it got to the point that it was filmed,
Including with a different actor.
with Christopher Reeve.
Yeah, and it was supposed to be like a more serious, like somber, like reflection on the
There were a
times.
few other people who were like on the short list too. Like, wasn't like Dolph Lundgren one of the people who was rumored to be in the chair at some point?
Yeah, if their intention was to make a version that was closer or close at all to the Stephen King version, then I think Christopher Reeve would have been a great choice, because the way that the character is in the book is he's this kind of like emaciated, starving guy who's struggling to like help and support his family, and that's why he ends up getting into the Running Man game.
Yeah.
And it's actually this like
social commentary, right?
Yeah, and it's also a sprawling, like, multi-continent thing where the idea is, like, they, rather than shooting you in a rocket sled into LA, which is what happens in this movie, they send you off and just say, you can go anywhere in the world and our people are going to chase you. And the only rule is that you have to film a video, like, you know, talking about your experience or whatever, and send it in to us every day. So they get, like, a camera, and then they can just go wherever they want, and nobody has ever survived to win the grand prize.
Wow.
So it's kind of a world hopping. I almost said planet hopping with Schwarzenegger. That would make sense, but yeah, in this Schwarzenegger plays a character who
Starts off being on the side of the government.
He's
and
a
is-
co-op, right?
Yeah. Some form of military. or
he's
something.
a pig. And he's flying into Bakersfield, and he gets the order to kill a bunch of people who are like rioting because they're starving.
Unarmed civilian.
And he says,
Yeah.
"No."
I really felt like this was in that sweet spot where he still really had his accent. And so whenever I would watch these movies as a kid and even as an adult, now it makes more sense to me, because watching older movies where there are just actors who have, like Bela Lugosi, great example of a character or of an actor who has a very strong accent that he never tries to hide in any of his movies.
Yeah.
And everyone around him, except in something like Dracula, where he is supposed to be from, you know, a foreign place, nobody ever addresses it. They're just like, oh yeah, you know, whatever. Nobody points out that he sounds, you know, like he's from wherever Bela Lugosi is from. I'm not 100% sure, but I think Hungary. And
I just ate.
and Schwarzenegger, yeah, I think this is also, like, outside of maybe Commando, like maximum one-liner.
There's a lot. I mean,
Predator also came out in the same year, and that's also, you know, big with classic one-liners.
Batman as well, though.
Yeah.
Batman is
yeah,
like,
but those aren't good one-liners. I'm saying.
I mean, let's kick some ice. Come on.
Well, this guy would know because he's been
Come on,
watching
guy.
a ton of Arnold stuff recently.
of 'em.
But yeah, to me, like, just watching this, I was like, oh. But I think maybe it's because I'm more used to like Terminator, where he's got like one or two, you know, goofy fun lines. But in this, it's like, you know, obviously
Mile a minute.
Yeah, mile a minute every other line. But
So if you don't know what the premise of this movie is, real quick, the world's kind of shutting down.
it's 2017.
And a little weird, right? And there's this TV show that is like the most watched thing ever. And what it involves is criminals being put into a sort of arena, and gladiator style, they're kind of hunted down by these other
Stalkers.
stalkers, yeah, who are like good guys, but they're out to kill them.
And kind of Mortal Kombat characters.
Mortal Kombat.
Also, one is actually just
Sub-Zero
named after a Mortal Kombat character. But
and Arnold, he doesn't want to follow orders, so he gets sent to prison and then escapes and then gets captured.
yeah, it's kind of like a weird, like, I don't know why they do all this in the beginning.
Resistance.
Yeah, where they have him, he gets captured, then he escapes, then he takes the woman hostage, and then goes to the airport, and then she rats on him, and that's where he finally gets caught. And I'm like, just have him get caught in the beginning and go straight into the Running Man stuff.
Well, I think that helps establish that he does want to become part of the resistance.
Yeah.
Because otherwise he would just been like, well, fuck you guys. I have no reason to fight for it. So it kind of gives us a reason for him to want to fight to like save the rest of
He's got kind of a Mad Max attitude.
Yeah.
A cop who's just like, I don't want, I've been betrayed and I don't want anything to do with helping people, but I'm going to get roped into doing it.
Yeah, so the government lies to people. Very futuristic. And and they broadcast things that aren't true. So for an example, Arnold doesn't want to shoot the civilians, but they get shot down anyway, and they splice the footage showing him shooting them. And so they're lying to convince people that what they're doing is always right.
Which, I mean, classic line on the podcast, but, this is, even more relevant today than it probably was back then. And there have actually been pieces written about how a lot of this movie did a good job of predicting what the year 2017 was actually going to be like in terms of obviously the entertainment conglomerates, and the way that the government is, and obviously, there's just a lot of similar issues, but especially the stuff about fake news and deep faking, like they do some facial replacements on footage and stuff, and it's like we're dealing with that constantly now with deep fakes and AI and stuff, where you just never know if shit that you're watching online is real or not. And
half the time you guys send me stuff, I'm like, is that real? Is this real? Is this real?
I was actually talking the other day with Adrian about how now people are getting so used to seeing AI images that they're starting to get really good at identifying when an image is AI. So it's almost making the AI, it's making it less convincing. Like, it's making it than it would have been, because people are like, I can look at an AI image and look at the background and just immediately go, oh, okay, like that's AI. Like, you can just tell by the way that things kind of.
There's also like a problem currently now where most AI databases are, because the marketplace, so to speak, has been so infiltrated by AI images that it's pulling from other AI images to create AI images, which is making them worse.
Copy of a copy of a copy.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
One thing that you mentioned earlier, right, was how this ties into our regular shit.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has a very like post-apocalyptic vibe. Like, this whole sort of thing, I mean, it's very reminiscent to, I mean, not reminiscent, is like precursor to some other things that have existed in popular media, like the whole concept of like the Hunger Games or Battle Royale before it.
Hunger Games, yeah.
Like, it really
Squid
sets
Game.
the stage for those things. And then on top of that, also like as far as like specifically using prisoners in these cases, things like Gamer or Death Race, those movies are all very heavily influenced by this style of film.
And frankly, I think it's a great way for us to deal with the prison population. We should really be putting them into crazy fucking reality show competitions that are life or death. No, it's a horrible, awful idea, but the whole time you're watching, I mean, maybe not this version of it. I think the idea is so close to being something that could actually happen that it lends the premise a lot of credibility. But I think just I'm more thinking of the premise as King thought of it and wrote it, or the premise as, because now I'm even suspicious if King and that idea and his idea was not inspired by that, because that previous book, I think it's called like the Price of the Prize or something like that. It came out back in like the 70s or 80s, so it's definitely a precursor to all of this stuff, which is kind of crazy that it's not gotten more attention as basically having inspired, like we just said, all of these kind of battle royale, Fortnite type shows and movies and stuff. But overall, I think
talking about remaking it with Edgar Wright.
but more akin to the actual Stephen King story, I
The
guess,
novelization.
than this version of it.
I'm not seeing the lawsuit right here.
Yeah, I don't know if it actually ever went through, or if they won or lost the lawsuit. But
I mean, we haven't touched on it, but Richard Dawson in this, you may know him from the original Family Feud.
I didn't realize that until I was reading the trivia today, and then I was
Yeah.
like, oh shit, that's why he's such a great game show network host, is that he was a game show host for a long time.
And he was always kissing people. That was like his thing back in the day. When
Yeah.
he'd be like, hey, and like kiss the women. Sometimes like on the mouth.
Yeah, very
Like,
creepy.
That's tight, dude.
Different time.
Totally. But I thought he was fucking fantastic in this. He is very villainous.
He hams it up
I forget
really
who
well.
said it, but I think it might have been King or the director or somebody. They were like, yeah, he finally found the role that he was born to play. And it's like,
I think that was like one of the like Ebert or something.
oh
Because Siskel and
In the
Ebert had
review.
like an entire like video production about like what they did and didn't like about this movie, and spoiler alert, the majority of it is they didn't like. They said they were getting very tired of Arnold at this point because he was like, there's his second movie of
Well, yeah,
the
they had
year.
to push this because Predator was coming out that year. So he
Yeah.
had, and you see that all the time in his filmography where it's like, oh, they had to push a movie because a different Arnold movie was like, the dude was working like crazy for a solid 20 years, 30 years, like before.
I mean, he was the biggest name in
Yeah.
Hollywood for a while.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and like in order to like, there's this entire like rogues gallery of like ex-wrestlers and all these like larger than life characters that all got acting careers because they needed people who were like of a similar stature to be on screen with Arnold. Otherwise, he would make people look, miniature by comparison.
Like girly men.
Except
Girly man.
for Jesse Ventura, who is much larger. He's like 6'5", 300 pounds.
When
and
he
so,
first shows up in this movie, it's so fucking funny when he's doing his little workout video and he's like, ooh.
yeah.
Like, what the hell?
Well,
and I was hoping that was all he was in the movie, just to do that silly shit. But I
In
mean, he does show
Predator,
like that.
they McTiernan intentionally never put them next to each other in the frame because he knew that it would make Arnold look small.
yeah.
But in this, they use that to their advantage, obviously, to make Arnold look small. But let's do our Ebert and Siskel and Roper and talk about what we liked and what we didn't like. Overall, I
Like overalls.
like I said, I like the general concept.
General concepts.
I think that the script is pretty funny, like a lot of the, not necessarily Arnold stuff, but I feel like the Killian, Killian is funny. Ventura is funny. I think
Killian,
that-
I'll be back.
I think a lot of the dialogue is like, and the weird like thing where the old woman is sitting in the audience of the
Oh
one
my
show, and they're
God.
like talking to her, and it's this like really fucked up thing, and she's just this old lady who's just happy to be at all the tapings.
They used a ton of grannies for this, like
And
a
then she
lot
uses
of
some,
old
like,
ladies.
Foul language too, right? She's like, I don't give a fuck or something, right? Like,
Yeah.
she's hell of that. Yeah, I forgot about that.
General premise,
General
liked.
premise.
General premise, yeah. I also liked that. I thought that I had never seen this movie, and I was telling, I think I texted you guys. I had this memory of Arnold in that suit, that like lycra Adidas suit, in a sled, like in a rocket sled, and I remembered him saying, "I'll be back," and I grew up being like, I have no fucking clue what movie that was. And I was like, I must have misremembered it and just mixed up his line from Terminator with this. And so when he did it in this movie, I shit my pants because I was like, I wasn't wrong. I did see that. So it turns out I had seen this when I was a kid at some point. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty fucking goofy.
Yeah,
I mean, it's fun. I didn't hate it.
I like the premise. I like Arnold, obviously, and I like Richard Dawson. I think that it does get a little repetitive. It's
That's what I was going to say, is that it's
we
just the
sent out
same
this
thing
guy.
over and
This
over
was
again
this
after
was
that.
Siskel and Ebert's main complaint, was that like every scene feels like it's the same shit over and over.
just how
again.
can
But that
they kill
would make
this
sense
guy?
if it's like, this is the guy, go kill him, and then that guy fails. Okay, we'll send in another guy, because that's never happened before. So they don't really know what to do. So like, let's just do it again. So like, that makes sense to me why they did it.
It's also more akin to it being like a television production, which it is a television production inside of a movie.
Well, and Arnold actually complained a lot, saying that he thought that the director for this was awful for the job and had only worked in TV previously. And so Arnold actually felt like the movie was shot like a TV.
And at the
movie,
time,
and
TV and movies were so separate and very different. Now it's all homogenous.
So
right?
he was like, so the movie was not nearly as good as it could have been, and also Arnold wanted to do the more nuanced stuff like that and go deeper with the character and do things that were more akin to the Stephen King or the Bachman novel.
Yeah.
Which is funny. The producer, who bought the rights to the novel, bought it not knowing. And this was after it had been revealed. He just didn't realize that Richard Bachman was Stephen King. So he was just like, "Oh, I'm going to buy this book, the rights to this book," not realizing that it was a Stephen King thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I think that, like you said, it becomes let's send in a different themed dude and then have Arnold or somebody kill them with their own weapon. Like this guy has chainsaws, so he's gonna get chopped in half by a chainsaw. This guy has like electricity, so he's gonna get electrocuted. Just like, okay, it's just, and it's the same thing over and over again. And then in the end, I was like, ooh, I really hope that they do some like crazy big climactic ending, and it's like he literally just puts the dude in the sled, which I knew was gonna happen. As soon as I saw that they were rocket sledding into those nets, I was like, I can't wait to see somebody fly through that thing and just like explode at the end. I did think it was kind of cute that he flies through like a billboard of himself. So he does that, and then it just ends with like Arnold seeing the chick and them doing like but also now we're in love. And that's the end of the movie.
Basically the same for you.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of fun moments.
Yeah.
Overall, it's not a movie I'm gonna go back to a bunch.
Not gonna running back to it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go running back to it. But
I've seen it multiple times. I love this. Well, not love, but I enjoy watching this movie.
I think it's fun. Like, I mean, I think that it would be a fun watch to watch with a group of people, because then you can, banter in between and some of the more boring parts, and then do all the pointing at the screens and stuff when it's action packed and exciting. The sets are fun too, and I think that the costume design is really like vibrant and bright, and it really is akin to that like 80s like cheesy kind of style.
I do like seeing Arnold in that like weird, goofy, colorful suit. Just because it's so different from like his usual thing.
He's usually like the badass, and
there's nothing
like
badass Turbo
about
Man
this.
and Jingle All the Way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the vibe that I was getting. I also do love the rocket sleds, like when they actually go through the tunnels, and it's just like whoa, and they're going like taking weird turns and stuff, and it's like it's very discombobulating. I thought that was well done, especially since it's just going by so fast. So I'm sure that's how they covered up whatever effect they were doing for that. But I'm interested to see what Edgar Wright does with it, especially if it's going to be closer to the King novel. But I do think also these Arnold movies in general, I think they work better now for me than they really did when I was a kid. Because when I was a kid, I think I was always trying to take them seriously. As seriously as a kid takes a movie, as like serious sci-fi movies, and some Arnold movies are like that, but others are just like, no, I'm watching it because Arnold's fun and goofy and says wacky shit and punny shit, and it's fun because it's Arnold.
Yeah,
and I'm not really taking the rest of it very seriously, and so that's why I enjoyed this a lot more than I think I would have even a few years ago, because now I'm just like, I like Arnold, and he's a goober.
Yeah, he had that duality to his like career where he could go and do the Terminator and be like a very serious, very creepy villain,
almost robotic.
Yeah, in a way.
Cybernetic organism.
Or be like he'd have like his in betweens, kind of like Predator. Has that like there's still like the one ugly motherfucker and all that sort of shit, but also still has a lot of like serious elements, and also has like the social commentary that goes along with it, and then stuff like this or Last Action Hero, where it's just he's there to be as fucking ridiculous as possible, and all of those have value.
Well, then additionally, just the straight comedies.
Yeah,
with stuff like Junior and Twins, like he's got a fucking crazy ass career.
Yeah, that's
man was pregnant.
Yeah, that's the stuff I've still never actually seen Twins or Junior. Once he got into his comedy phase, I think that I was already off watching other stuff.
There's some fun stuff.
I just grew up with the stuff that was out when I was born, and was like the big action stuff when Arnold was, like you said, biggest name in the world. So, which I mean, that's it's a whole different conversation. But
his documentary on Netflix is great.
Yeah, I want to check it out because just the fact that like I know his story basically because I've seen what's the the weightlifting documentary that he was in.
Iron?
Yeah, back in the day.
I'm coming.
Yeah, but just the whole story of him just being like, I'm gonna work out, and everybody telling him that he was too big and his accent would never get him work in Hollywood. And then he not only had one of the biggest careers ever, but then went on to become governor of California, and Jesse Ventura also became a governor. So 2 governors out of this movie.
Yeah.
And Predator. So
Weird.
That is weird.
It's a bit odd.
But yeah, I enjoy it. I would say I recommend it. I
Yeah.
don't know about these guys, but it's a good time. And if you are a fan of Arnold and you haven't seen this, I think that you'll enjoy it.
No, for the right vibe, it 100% will fit the bill.
it's your vibe. So yeah, let's find out what we're watching for S. We're almost to the end of the alphabet. Can you guys believe that?
Yeah,
It's
which means we're almost to the end of the
pretty
show.
crazy.
All right, so we're going to spin the wheel of Endless Possibilities.
Endless possibilities.
Can you tell us what our options are?
Our options are Spirited Away,
That's from John.
7,
That's from Anthony.
and Super 8.
Yeah, lots of numbers.
Yeah.
John, you really fucked us. You should have done Sixth Sense.
I hate math.
Oh.
Spin the wheel.
Come on, Super 8.
Come on, any of them.
Boom, boom, ba-dum, ba-dum. We're going to be watching Spirited Away.
How the fuck? Dude, you rigged it.
I did not rig it. I
This
just
is like
clicked
the
spin
5th
button.
movie in a
Spin
row
it again.
that's been yours.
It was running. I didn't pick Running Man.
Well, we're not going to
Oh,
change
it's
it if
true.
you spin it again, but just spin it again. I'm just curious.
Spin it again.
I just want to make sure you're not a liar, John. I just want to make sure you're not a liar.
I'm gonna
He's
laugh.
sweating
Is it again.
like that Jordan Peele.
Go again.
No fucking way, dude.
All right, I'm gonna spin it one more time.
It's going to be spin again. And then it's going to be Spirited Away. It's the only one that's that color.
It picked 7.
Yeah, you fucking...
As if, yeah, no, I'm fine with
How come
Spirited
yours
Away.
is only one color? That color.
Because they're all like different colors.
Okay.
It's because there's 7 total items.
Okay, I believe you.
Well, there you go. We're watching Spirited Away. You thought we were
Just-
done with
yeah.
anime?
It pulls us back in.
Yeah.
So check that out probably on HBO.
I believe it's on HBO, yes.
There's a bunch of Ghibli Ghibli stuff. And if you haven't already, check out our regular episode. We're continuing with camp, and we're talking about The Road and Children of Men. So it should be a real uplifting episode. And we'll see you there.
Oh, and for those of you who were missing our Day After Tomorrow and Night of the Comet that we promised in the prior one, you will get that. Don't worry. It's coming.
It's coming.
The day after tomorrow.
Yeah.
Hey! Stay tuned.
Keep it creepy.
Stay tuned.